Hello, this is BBC Newsline with the headlines in Northern Ireland. The Stormont department responsible for social security and homelessness facing a cut of almost 16% in day-to-day spending.
The Education Authority's board says it can't make cuts of around £200 million to the school's budget this year.
I'm Declan Harvey. Welcome to Tuesday's programme. Stormont officials are still facing tough decisions about what exact services to cut back on in order to keep within the spending limits set in last month's budget by the Secretary of State. It's been estimated across the board cuts worth £800 million are required. Today, the Education Authority tried to see where or if it can make more savings in schools. We'll talk about that shortly. But first, at the Department for Communities, there were similar discussions happening today. Clodagh Rice is here to tell us a little bit more about what they were saying. I mean, what kind of number are they trying to meet in terms of cuts? Well,
Declan, the shortfall that they're looking at is about £111 million. That's about a 16% cut in their day-to-day spending, so it's very significant.
Yeah, a massive number. Let's remind ourselves as well of what is covered by the term Department for Communities. It's a big array, isn't it?
It's a really broad brief, Declan. As you say, it covers everything from housing and homelessness to benefits and welfare payments, as well as things like art, culture and sport. And to put the scale of those cuts into some sort of context, we're told that it could mean that the department is facing impossible choices.
Well, let's dip into some of these kind of headlines, if you like. Benefits and pensions, what could it mean for that?
Well, this is support for the most vulnerable. So things like discretionary support grants could be cut. What those are is basically a short-term financial support to help with living expenses. And to give you an idea of the scale of the need for such grants, last year it handed out over £40 million worth of those grants against the backdrop of a cost of living crisis. So that really important support. It could also have an impact on social security delivery. So that could impact people who are maybe moving on to universal credit from legacy payments, benefits. And also the fact that the department itself is facing about 600 vacancies could mean that there is a risk that it could slow down the time frame of some benefits payments.
Yeah, quite often these payments are needed urgently in many cases. Let's look at another one of these categories as well, from benefits and pensions. Let's look at employment. What more do we know about that?
Well, one area which could be facing significant cuts is employment support. So that's targeting people who aren't in work or looking for work. So there could be a variety of reasons why they aren't looking for work, maybe health issues or disabilities. And that support is there to help those people find the right job or a suitable job. And we know that the economically inactive, as that term is used, there's about a rate of 28% here in Northern Ireland, much higher than the rest of the UK. So you could argue that's one area that really needs us a lot of support that is now facing big cuts.
So what happens now?
Well, the conversations are happening with the likes of the arm's length bodies associated with this department. And there's a consultation being launched tomorrow that's known as an equality impact assessment. That will run for 12 weeks. So we should learn in the next few weeks or so, really, where these cuts are going to happen.
OK, Clodagh, thank you very much. We'll watch it closely. OK, let's go to the Education Authority headquarters in Belfast next, because its board has called an extraordinary meeting to see where, or indeed if, they will be able to make around £200 million of cuts as set out in the budget. Robbie Meredith is standing by for us. What are you hearing there, Robbie?
Well, the EA, Declan, it spends the bulk of the education budget on things like funding schools, support for children with special educational needs, school transport, school maintenance, school meals. But as you say, for most of the afternoon, the authorities board wrestled in their headquarters here behind me with how to try to save £200 million. That's the amount they're set to go for budget this year. Now, I understand they were told that savings in that scale could mean major cuts to things like school transport, special educational needs, even axing every school crossing patrol, every lollipop man and woman in schools right across Northern Ireland. But the upshot was they were only able to identify around £14 million of savings, mainly to the EA's own operations. Now, that's only a fraction of what they need to stay within budget this year, but they said that to try to save £200 million would affect every child in Northern Ireland, and they just couldn't do it.
So they're saying they just can't do it. So what happens next?
Well, they're basically putting the pressure back on the Department of Education, because they said that some of those savings, like big changes to school transport, well, that would need a change in departmental policy, even a change in the law. So it's not going to be any easier for the Permanent Secretary to make those decisions. Meanwhile, schools face standstill funding this year and rising costs, and that means many are having to do more with less.
It's got to a point now where government and society in general has to stand up and say, no, if education's a priority, we put our money where our mouth is, we fund the schools to do what they need to do, and that's the change that needs to happen. Whilst we worry about green and orange and all the silly politics that go on a daily basis, and we prioritise that more, this is the future. This is the future of education looking straight at you unless things change.
I think we're really in unprecedented territory here, Declan. I think there's a vague hope when you talk to people that if Stormont returns, there'll be more money in the budget to bail education out, but who knows when and if that's going to happen.
All right, Robbie, thanks. Great. Barra, thank you. And thank you for watching this evening. We appreciate it. That's your very latest from across Northern Ireland. Keep up to date on our website. Your late news is here at 10:30, and we'll be back tomorrow, as ever, 6:30. Bye-bye.